Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and boys and girls. This is Mike Palmer from Mike Palmer Homes. I want to make a quick video here just to illustrate a few points. I want to talk about a footing. I know this job site, there's nothing pretty about it, but we're about to start a foundation here. So I want to go over some of the things that we look for and some of the things we see when we're at this stage of construction and how we approach this lot. Because once we get the house up, it's much more academic. Getting to this point requires a little more thinking, a little more judgment. So we have a building lot here. We have to, for erosion control, the erosion control inspector is right over here. He just left. We all checked out fine. But where the water flows, we have to have a gravel construction entrance so we don't track mud up and down the street. Now we've had masons and concrete trucks here, so it's a little beat up, but we just poured concrete on the footing and getting ready. We got the brick here waiting for the block, and we're gonna start building a foundation. Now, we had to put silt fence and erosion fence over there, and we just had a heavy rain, beat up all our landscaping, beat up a lot of stuff. But the silt fence held all the silt from washing down into storm drains, so it's doing its job. But this lot, if you look at it, you see how it slopes? There was this behind the dumpster here. See all that earth we built up over there? That was a real low spot in the middle. It was very high in the back. So when they first graded this thing and we had it set up for footing, we took a measurement with a laser transit, and it was a 7-foot drop from the back to the corner. 7 foot. So they may want 7 and 8 foot stairs in the front of their house, and we can correct some of that with grading, but still, in your garage, right? You come in your garage, you don't want to have to carry your groceries up a flight of stairs. So we came back and said, we have to correct this. So what we did, if you see kind of that bowl effect, now once we get all this landscaped, it'll be really hard to tell all this stuff. But we cut down the back and we brought a bunch of dirt up here. We robbed Peter to pay Paul, made our footings a little deeper, a little more concrete here. But now when we go with the difference between the front and the back, see these, we call these bulkheads, but we call them steps. There's 2 steps. We make these steps 8 inches because that's the height of a cinder block from the front to back. So we'll still have, because it's higher in the back, we'll still have to put some little extra gravel in the garage, but it won't be nearly as severe. And if we have to build up too much gravel, then you make a big, almost like an Evel Knievel ramp coming up in, and we don't want that either. So we cut this, filled that, and we're getting the most out of this lot. We will have a few steps because it's higher in the back and the front, but we've minimized that as much as we can. And that's what we want to do, because that saves us money. We did have to do a little more grading. It saves us money, and more importantly, it makes it much more comfortable for the customer. And if you've watched any of my videos, you know what I'm a stickler about is when you come in the garage to go into the house, we really only want to have maximum 24 inches and 2 steps. That way you don't need railings, you don't need landings and platforms. Because I was at a house today of one of my customers. He's having us come back and build a 2-story garage, but he had lived in one of our houses for 7 years. And he said, okay, this is why I really appreciate what you do, because now I've got this big landing, and now when I can't find my 2-car garage, I really can only fit 1 car, so they got to tear apart the stairs and reconfigure them, and even then it's going to be uncomfortable. So that's why we do all that. Now we might not be able to get just 2 steps, but we're really going to try. If so, we're still going to minimize the number of stairs from the garage to the house, and that's where you live your life, going in and out of your garage to your house. So that really has to work. You notice over the neighbor's yard, got this big area here. This is going to be the driveway. Okay, the driveway has to work too. But you have a nice big driveway coming in here. We don't have all the width we want, and we did have to cut this to make the foundation work. So you kind of have that wall of earth there. So, but we can easily put a turnaround up here so people can back out there, park the spare car, and it's still going to work very well. So these are some of the finer points we look at when we think through this. Once we get the foundation up, and it's still very hard work, but it's much more defined because you have a plan, shows you exactly where everything needs to be. It's still a lot of work coordinating everybody, getting them in place, but it all works. Now, this is called a bulkhead on a footing. Footing is just a trench filled with concrete, and I know this one looks ugly because we just had the torrential rain that washed all kinds of dirt on there, but the masons will clean that off before they lay brick and block, so that'll be fine. What these little orange, see these orange nails with the orange paint on them? Those are going to be the actual corners of the footing, and when you put a foundation there, you have to have at least 2 inches projection of the concrete footing, the foundation, and the footing just goes down to, we call it load bearing capacity soil. A lot of times we just call it hard dirt. You got to dig down to hard dirt to make sure, you know, your house doesn't sink. So that's basically how we do that. Now, one of the other finer points that I look for back here is going to be the deck screen porch. Okay, you can see the outline of it. It's really cool when we can get drone shots of this. Be nice if we could dub one in here. Don't know if that's going to happen, but we build that up. Now, if we had a wood deck here, the wood deck is right down in the dirt. It's right down low at ground level. So we'll put a concrete foundation around here, right? I mean, a masonry foundation of brick and block. We'll fill that full of gravel, and you'll have a concrete porch so you can step right off of, and you don't have to worry about standing water getting under there, or, you know, rodents, possums, raccoons. You don't have to worry about critters getting in there. So, and this is, you know, we've built hundreds of these, so this to me is all just standard operating procedure. But for people that haven't, you know, some of this stuff is interesting for them. But I'm delighted that we were able to cut this down and only have 2 steps. Even though we cut and filled, I was expecting it to be a little more. So we got to have enough height in our crawl space, but we don't, you know, if we can avoid having a 7 or 8 foot crawl space, because our lowest point is where the stairs are. Now, if you look down, this is going to be the side of the house with its footing, but we have an issue. We've got a tree right above it. So I contacted our clearing company, and they said they thought that was someone else's lot. Well, it is, but we're still allowed to cut the branches that overhang our lot. But that's actually not a building lot. That is an off-site septic lot. It is owned by the association, and it is just there reserved for if somebody's septic system fails, they can pump it here, in which the trees would have to come down anyway. And this tree, they all grow to the sunlight, so we have to cut enough branches, because we can't have, you know, when people are putting up roofing and siding, be up in the tree, and we don't want all these leaves coming down on the customers. So we're going to have to either do something with all those branches. Okay, technically we're not supposed to cut what's off our property, but we can cut everything that's overhanging. So that's a fine-tune adjustment. And I'd rather not figure that out when the house is up, because it's a lot easier to do now. So they're sending someone out there to take care of it. So, like I said, these are the adjustments we made. Now you can see we filled a bunch of dirt in here, and then we'll taper that off and make it look pretty when we plant grass and everything. But it goes right to that natural area. But when we fill this dirt, this footing here has to be deeper, because you got to get down to virgin soil. And another thing is, we don't have a septic field in the back of this lot. Most of the houses in this neighborhood, they require septic. This one does not, because we have an off-site septic. The soil failed to perk, meaning short for percolate, but meaning it did not have acceptable absorption rate to install a septic system. So we don't have to do that. So the good part is, if we have a customer that wants a swimming pool, which a lot of them do, they're free to put it over there. Now, there is a clearing back there where that's called our off-site septic. The way the homeowner association did this, if you set up this development in the beginning, if your lot does not perk and you not suitable for a septic, they put a lot further away. So we're going to have a tank and a pump, and it's going to pump the effluent, the liquid from the septic over to a leach field over there in the woods. So that gives us many more options, because when you put in a leach field, it's got to go into primarily virgin soil. You can disturb it a little, but you can't cut it the way we did. But this is one of the few lots in the neighborhood we were able to do that. So we're able to cut and grade it and make the front of this work out a whole lot better. And the people are going to have a whole lot nicer yard for kids to play, for pets to play, and just to walk up. You're not going to have these giant set of steps or as big. And now it's nice flat. They can do some good landscaping, some pretty flower beds, and make a nice sidewalk there. So that's my discussion on this footing. But when I pulled up here today and saw what they did, I was very, very pleased, because it's exceeded my expectations of what they could do. And I know this looks a little chopped up, but once we get that landscaped and graded, you know, it'll be barely noticeable. So what I always ask, if you found some valuable information in this video, please hit the like and subscribe button, because that helps us get our message out and helps get a lot of good information out to people who like it. And I don't know, you can see how up these pretty backyards, but we built all these houses up here, and we've got a couple other we just finished up. We'll be having videos come out on those soon. And The inside of this footing, we do bring a machine in here and they grade that all flat. We put rock dust when we waterproof. Call it rock dust. It's like gravel, real fine gravel, or like gravel sand, so that the drainage and everything will work out well if water ever does get in the crawl space. But anyway, that's a discussion for another day. Thanks again for visiting our site, and please feel free to contact us if you have any questions.